You are listening to Beyond the Verse, a StarCitizen podcast. A show dedicated to Cloud Imperium Games, StarCitizen, and Squadron 42. Whether you fight, explore, unite, and/or trade, we bring you news, updates, interviews, reviews, and analysis. So sit back, relax, grab yourself a pour of Radagast, and join us as we go Beyond the Verse.
Launch sequence activated.
Hello, friends, and welcome to Beyond the Verse, StarCitizen podcast. I am your host, Sulyce, and this is episode 130. We're going to dive into the Alpha 4.4 release, Welcome to Nyx. Explore the new systems, the features, and the community reactions. We're also going to cover IAE 2955's Day 1 events, which was the RSI for Day 1, obviously, with the Perseus and the RSI Salvation reveals, the Q&As, and we're going to also watch the behind the ships together and react to those two ships. Plus the latest roadmap roundup, the referral rewards, and a look at IAE 2955's physical merchandise and more. So this is a very compact episode. It's going to be a lot of information. We have a patch release and a major high velocity event happening within 2 days of each other, really 1 day of each other on that Wednesday, Thursday of this week. So let's get down into it. I hope this finds everybody well. This is also going to be the Thanksgiving episode as well. So next week, the United States celebrates Thanksgiving, and that's on a Thursday. I record Friday mornings, but I will be engaged with family because, hey, I'm a smart father and I am a smart husband. So I want to prioritize them. And I really do hope that this episode really does find you well, and it welcomes you into this holiday season as best as it can. I hope everybody's seeing family. I hope everybody's seeing friends. And obviously getting into the verse a little bit, because there is a lot to do. If you have not been in the verse lately, we've got new missions, we have new locations, we have high velocity events like we mentioned earlier. So there's not a lack of things to do. Now, whether or not those things are smooth and, operates the first time you try them, that's a whole different conversation. All right, before we get into any of the news, guys, I threw grenades this week. I pissed off a lot of people, and not by design. I was not out to get anybody. I was not out to ruffle any feathers, pun intended for Thanksgiving. But listen, I asked a question 4 days ago, and it spawned multiple deeper conversations on X. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show y'all what started it all, and then we're going to go from there. So for the first couple of minutes of this episode, we will go through a little bit of Q&A or a little bit of polls, but this is from social media, and this is where the conversation took us for this week. Before I forget, we will have a giveaway that is sponsored by CIG tomorrow. Now I know what it is, but we don't know what it is yet until tomorrow, whenever the ship is revealed in IAE. So please be close to the socials, www.beyondtheversehq.com/giveaway, or just go to our website and you'll find all the links, everything there is to participate. I will be giving a 5-digit pin in this episode. At some point in this episode, I will be giving a 5-digit pin that you will need to insert in the bottom of the application. All right, you're already here for this. All right, I'm going to share my screen for those of you on video. I asked on November 17th. All right, now this question has 10.5K views, 10,500 views, over 623 votes. So this is legitimate. It's not just 10 people. It's not just 15 people. 623 votes. I asked primary residents. Let's fast forward to a complete star system. Like an example, Pyro has its solar flares. Nyx has all of its planets and locations and everything else it promised. So let's just fast forward 5, 10, 15 years from now. And I wanted to compare Stanton versus Pyro versus Nyx. I asked this question with a hunch. I kind of knew where people would fall, but I want everybody on record. I wanted everybody to go in and put in their vote because I have a hunch. It played out 100% how I expected it to. So which system do you call home? Right now, I'll have a caveat. I did say primary residence. I did say home. I did not say, would you ever visit or would you not visit? So there is like a qualitative anecdotal like expectation here. But it's Stanton, Pyro, Nyx. 63.9% say that you would remain in Stanton. 28.7% said Nyx would be your forever home. 7.4% said Pyro. Now, granted, the spirit of this poll was because Nyx was coming out. It was coming out. It's going to come out Wednesday. We were going to see it this week. And so I wanted to get everybody to, again, to kind of land the starship on this topic. I did not expect Pyro to be so low at 7.4. Now, I will not go through like every single comment. We have 27 comments, not going to do it. But the majority of the comments were around PvE versus PvP. And this became a player versus player conversation, which it is the inevitable debate in StarCitizen and really every MMO. Every MMO has to battle the balance of player versus environment and player versus player. Well, that's what this is. That's what this became. So Pyro, I would actually argue that Pyro in this current moment is safer than any other system. And not for any nefarious reason or like malintent reason, but when you go to Pyro, you expect to fight other players. And if you're just there to joyride, you are very, very, very vocal with other players around you that you don't want any of their smoke, right? So you're flashing, you're staying far away from everybody. So it is very clear and deliberate. If there's going to be if there's going to be an encounter in Pyro, people are very blatant about it. Well, that's not the case in Stanton. I feel like the murder hobos, the ones that just want to kill for joy, that kind of stalk and hang out around jump points. Now, again, I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Don't read into that. I feel like that exists more in Stanton because of the surprise effect, because of, you're not expecting it effect. And so when I go to Pyro, I actually feel the safest. One, I came fully prepared. I have a ship that can defend itself. I'm in my fullest FPS gear. So again, I would actually argue against the fact that Pyro is this PvP murder hobo system because it's intended to be so. And so people are more cautious. Well, I asked this question because of Nyx. Nyx drops this week, and there's this, I would say, a conflict. There was this conflict between what we were given, what we were pitched at CitizenCon Direct of this Wild West, not lawless necessarily, maybe a chaotic neutral for all of my Dungeons and Dragons fans out there. I feel like it was pitched as a chaotic neutral and that it was the Wild West with a little bit of gang-related enforcers of some code of ethics, right? But what we got was still armistice. Now, I don't know if that will change over time. I don't know if that was always the intent, but like the external freight elevators are now less risky, they're less dangerous, and that's not what I feel like we were pitched a couple of weeks ago in October. So again, that was the spirit of it. I would actually love to hear your opinion. Did Nyx meet the bar, exceed the bar? Did it miss the bar on what you expected for a Wild West system? Now, CIG reserves the right to change and evolve and develop over time, like roger that. but there was only a couple weeks between the two. There was a couple weeks between CitizenCon Direct and the actual release this week. So I don't know. I actually haven't been outside of the PTU. The last couple of days, obviously it came out Wednesday. Thursday was IAE, so IAE took my priority in getting ready for Org Night last night, etc. So I kept it going. This doesn't end. So let me share my screen. So the next day, I was like, okay, so we have a good spread of where everybody's going to land. Okay, so that seems like everybody's going to be very spread out. You're going to have, again, like 68% or whatever living in Stanton, 29% living in Nix, 7% living in Pyro. Is that too spread out? That's a sincere question. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. Again, my questions are designed to provoke conversation. So is StarCitizen too spread out? I call out that in the PTU, at least, Nix was going to have three. Nix would be the third system. And the mesh configuration was 6 dynamic game servers in Stanton, and then 2 in Pyro, 2 in Nix, with a maximum head count of 600. This was a pretty even poll. Again, very legitimate. 6,285 views. So about 6,300 views. 545 votes. Again, this is not like 10 people. 545 of you. And it's very, very spread out evenly. So is StarCitizen too spread out? 30.6% of you said, look, you need to add more systems. We need to add more systems. So actually, it's not too spread out. We want to be even more spread out, which is the case in space. You would expect that in a space game. Right behind that, 29.9% said increase player cap. Now you can kind of mesh the two, but I actually think they're opposite. I think increasing player cap means of the 3 systems, let's make it more dense. So again, 30.6% said add more systems to be less dense. 29.9% said increase player cap to make it more dense. And again, right behind that, 20% say, no, it's the perfect density. Don't change anything. And basically the same number, 19.4% says, yes, it feels empty. I think that's very telling. I think it's very telling. Listen, this is a space game, but it's a very even spread across all 4 of those options. So what does CIG do? I think they continue mission. I think right now as they ideate and they work through tech dynamics and considerations, they keep doing what they're doing. I think it feels fine. And again, honestly, it's a space game. And there's only a finite number of StarCitizen players. Like, I know we see that 6 million account, but that doesn't mean that 6 million people are playing. That just means that there's 6 million bespoke or unique accounts. So take those 6 million individuals or less, and then you divide them up between 3 systems. The majority are going to go to Stanton. Like, it's going to feel pretty dense. But as we get 100, quote unquote, as we get 100 systems online for 1.0 or beyond 1.0, that will take that 6 million and it will peanut butter spread that across the entire system. So I just, again, thought that was incredibly insightful. And so again, thank you so much for participating in these polls. We got another poll. Again, I hope this interests you, but this is y'all's voice, right? This is listener voice. A little bit of less involvement, but this was also asked like 2 days ago. So very fresh, and there's still 40 minutes left in the poll. But 1,400 views, 305 votes. So still pretty legitimate. 305 is a substantial number. Nix was arriving later that day. So this is Wednesday. I say happy 4.4 patch release day. Which excites you the most from today's release? Right? 36.1% said the Vandal missions. So the Vandal being just a threat in Nix and also the missions tied to them. 24.6% said Levski Delamar. So kind of exploring, but just having that home, that Grim Hex feeling home in a new system. Then we have 20% said belt mining and exploration, which a lot of people got cranky and they were like, what exploration? There's nothing to explore. Roger, like I kind of was hinting at the investigation missions like I was talking about in the other podcasts last week. So I don't know, I consider that a little bit of exploration, but yes, there's no planets, there's no other locations outside of Levski and Delamar and the points of interest for the missions. All right. And then 19.3% said hauling and external elevators. So I actually expected hauling to be a little less. Now, this is coming from me, CEO of Soul Provision, which is a logistics company in StarCitizen. I actually expected hauling to be less, right? And like it still hasn't realized its full potential yet. It needs to get the whole C. It needs to get other cargo variants. It needs the Raylan. It needs a lot more substance to become a lot more relevant. But I do think that having interstellar hauling, though currently broken, I do think introducing interstellar hauling, good Lord, I do think that's a huge step in the right direction for hauling. But 19.3% said that. So, and I think that's it for the polls. Let me just scroll up real quick. Yeah, the rest is just, I did ask a poll about Claire Obscure because that's going up for Game of the Year, but that's irrelevant to this podcast. Yeah, so I like hearing y'all's voice, but those provoking questions created a lot of dialogue. And I think that sets the framework for the rest of this podcast. Again, if we were to bucketize the rest of this podcast, we're going to be discussing the 4.4 drop on Wednesday and IAE's drop yesterday. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so this week in StarCitizen, we always read this. It's kind of a longer one, but we're going to read it anyways. Kind of sets the groundwork for the rest of the podcast. Here we go. Last week, we set the stage for some exciting developments as we head toward the end of 2955, and the momentum is not slowing down. We kick things off with the reveal of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2955, landing in the breathtaking city of Orison from November 20 through December 3. You will be able to try many of StarCitizen's most iconic vehicles for free, with StarCitizen going free to play throughout the event. Have questions? Head on over to IAE 2955 FAQ for answers, or listen to the Beyond the Verse podcast. Over on the Alpha 440 PTU, our latest build is now open to all waves. We have seen a vast number of players pouring into Nyx through the new jump points, and your feedback has been seriously invaluable. Our teams are deep diving into your issue council reports, feedback threads, and everything you're sending our way as we polish the experience and prepare for the imminent release of Alpha 4.4 Welcome to Nyx. We also launched the Tech Preview Wave 1 Engineering, and the response has been incredible so far. Thank you to everyone who took time to jump in, fight fires, no pun intended, break things, and help push this central new gameplay system forward. The tech preview will remain live for as long as necessary to make this focused testing effort worthwhile. Thank you all for your feedback, bug reports, and the energy you bring to the community. We're working hard to make the end of the year truly fantastic, and we're doing it with you. Real quick, not to spoil anything from the roadmap updates that are coming down in the next couple minutes, but we will have a 4.5 patch before the end of the year, and we are expecting there to be engineering. Just let that settle. All right, the bullet points. Tuesday, we have the IAE manufacturer schedule. We actually will address that, but we're going to go quickly through it because I'm not going to read all 200 ships. On Wednesday, we had the drop of Alpha 4.4, the roadmap update, and on yesterday, we have day 1, the RSI day of IAE 2955, the release of the RSI Perseus, and the Salvation. That wasn't here in this list, nor was it in the manufacturer list, so I would say surprise, but it was out in the PTU. Anyways, moving on. Talking shop, there's the IAE podcast, our competition, challenge accepted. And then the salvage guide update comm link. And then on Friday, actually, I haven't seen that. The salvage guide. I haven't seen that in the comms link. I think that was missed. All right. And then today we have Origin, the Origin day 2 of IAE 2955. I don't think there's any new ships off the top of the head. I don't remember there being any new Origin ships, which actually, it's been a while. It's been a while since we've had a new Origin ship. I know they're reworking the 600i. But then what are those little buggies called? I think it's like the I'm going to say G12 or something. G2, G12, G something. But those little like ground assets that Origin makes, like, where are those? That seems like it'd be really easy. I don't know, to roll out. Anyways, maybe, just maybe. All right, on Saturday, we have Drake, which, again, our giveaway is going to be based off of a Drake ship that releases on day 3. So, again, on Saturday. And then the IAE podcast episode 2, Talking Shop, is also coming out on Saturday as well. All right, so here's the deal. The 5-digit pin is actually a 4-digit pin. 4-digit pin. And it's going to be the year that we're in StarCitizen. 2955. 2955. So at the bottom of the application, when you apply to get your giveaway, you need to have 2955. Nothing else. You guys, I have to sort through 500 of you applicants. 500 of you. So if I filter that last column and you've got some other crap in there, it's not going to make it. Just put the 4 numbers, damn it. 4 numbers. 2955. All right. I said it many, many, many times. All right, moving on. All right, so here is your welcome to next drop. This is Wednesday. Wednesday, this drops. I did not get in it. It was Wednesday kind of night-ish. It was like 6 p.m. U.S. Central Time. So it's funny. I worked from home. I was going to take the day off from work because I was expecting this to kind of drop around the 11 a.m. time frame, which is usually when events, go live. That's so like predetermined. So I expected it around 11 a.m. I was going to work a half day. It never came, obviously, until later that evening. Well, my son had his makeup hockey practice because we're not going to be here this weekend. So my son had his hockey practice Wednesday night. So I was there at the hockey arena when this thing dropped. Then it was getting late. And so when I got home, obviously I'm going to spend time with the wife. So I actually have not been to Nick's yet in the live PU. Obviously in the PTU, I spent a lot of time, Evocati and in the PTU. But I'm hearing some good things. I'm hearing that it's somewhat stable. It was rough at first, I think, because everybody was entering in. It's going to be a very congested Levski because, again, there's really no other POI outside of Levski. That's a point of interest. You have the missions that'll take you out to the Glacium Belt. But for the most part, you're going to have a lot of people, very high dense population around Levski. So I've heard good things about it. We're going to go and watch this video real quick. I have not adjusted the volume, so this might come out extremely loud at first, so bear with me. But we're going to watch this video. Welcome to Nix. This is everything about the patch, and then we'll go through quickly the notes and the Spectrum release for 4.4. Wow. Here we go.
What makes this place different?
Which, by the way, this was the Perseus reveal. So they drop the Perseus. They show the Perseus a lot in this video. I'm pretty sure they also show the Drake Clipper. In fact, the Drake Clipper, I think, is going to come over here on the left of your screen. It'd probably help if I show the video. So here we go. Now sharing my screen for those of you on video. So let me just rewind this real quick. This is the 4.4 drop, but it'll show you a lot of the Perseus. It'll also show you the Clipper here in a second. So here we go. I mean, that's the Clipper right there.
What makes this place different?
You feel that too, right? Well, I could ramble on about hopeful horizons, chasing some distant dream. But the simple truth is, this place is different because it was made different. It was built by us. A people with one purpose, I guess. Yeah, a purpose. To just live free. You see, no one hands this sort of life to you. It's worked for, even fought for, by us, and those who came before us. with the will to grab this kind of freedom.
All right, real quick. Anthony Tanaka. This is the origin story. I am not the astropub. I am not the astrohistorian. I'm not Paul. But it doesn't mean I don't know the lore. So Anthony Tanaka was this kid, 12-year-old kid, who was working in the mines of Delamar. And because he wasn't working hard enough, because he took a break, he was executed. He was executed by the employees. And so what you see here is a worker holding up the lifeless body of Anthony Tanaka as a symbol of everything you've just heard up to this point. It's a kind of, I don't want to say fighting against the government. I mean, I guess it kind of is, but it's just it's the basis behind this Wild West, this quote unquote lawless area. It's not as lawless as Pyro, but it doesn't have the UEE governance.
From an unrelenting grip. That's what I mean when I say this place was made. I don't mean the buildings or the rocks. Just look around. It ain't polished. It sure as hell ain't pretty. But it's real. It's free. And it's ours.
It's so good. The Wild West, right? But they also had a very, like, I would say a country voice actor that kind of narrated that. So it really does play into that theme. But this is a lore-filled system. They're all lore-filled, but there is some long history as to what Levski is and why we're going to it, and why ASD took some of their testing of the Van Duel out in this area. So here we go. Here's some pictures. If you've been listening to this podcast or you've been watching the last couple of episodes, I'm not necessarily going to go through each one of these, but it's just the highlights, right? Intersec is like the group that you're going to be working with as far as the missions are concerned. We have some interesting locations or POIs inside of Levski, like the Mercy Hospital. Teaches, this is the ship shop where the podcast is actually coming from, not us, the Talkin' Ship podcast. Then you got the Grand Barter, which, by the way, this I believe is the one place to get the 3-cannon revolver, the 3-cannon pistol. So if you're gonna go here, stock up with like 100 of those freaking pistols, and then take those back to you to Stanton or Pyro, wherever else you're going. So make sure you pick up those pistols there. And then here's the Talkin' Shop podcast. Actually, I haven't listened to it yet. I'm sure it's good. I'm sure it's professionally produced, obviously. Zero doubt, but damn it, I'm taking you on. You guys are going down. All right. So if you do not have an account, or you do not, if this is your first time ever listening to the podcast or wanting to get into StarCitizen, use my referral code. It's going to get you additional UEC. It's going to get you some other perks, especially right now when there's a referral gift, which we'll get into here in a couple of minutes. Use that referral code. It's in the show notes. It's on our website. Or you can just go here and click here and not get anything for it. But you can click to play now, create your account, fly for free, be in the game. Now's the time to do it. So this wasn't here on Wednesday, obviously, because that would have been a huge spoil for the Salvation, but it's here now. So a little bit of background information on the Perseus and the Salvation. Twitch drops are enabled, guys. We already have a lot of members in Soul Provision, and I'm sure out in the community as well, who already have this gear. Now, this helmet paired with the Dust Devil patch bundle looks sick. I'm going to get into my thoughts on that stupid cave here in a second. But watch your 4 hours, get yourself your free Twitch drops, find your favorite streamer. Guys, if I do stream, it would be on YouTube. I don't do things on Twitch, which is funny because I work at Amazon, but regardless. I do everything I do on YouTube. So feel free to support those who support Beyond the Verse podcast, like Space Tomato or the Astropub. Those would be two very good individuals. I believe Starjump Grim also streams on Twitch. Give those individuals a follow. Go watch their stream for 4 hours, and you will get this gear. Awesome. And it is just the gear. So if I do click more, again, we've already talked about this before, but it is, they actually don't have a list of the items. That doesn't make sense. But anyways, it's this armor. It's a complete set of the Geist Epoch armor set. Cool story. All right, so there's also patch bundles, as always. I got both, which is ridiculous. They both have the same paint, okay? So if I click on this extra, it's going to open it up here in a second. It is the Intrepid Epoch paint, and I'm going to go ahead and click on this guy too. So on the Aves, let's just call it Aves. I don't know. In the Aves patch bundle, Intrepid Epoch paint. On the Dust Devil patch bundle, the Intrepid Epoch paint. So you're getting two paints of the same thing. Then if you go into gear items, it's also the P8 SC Epoch submachine gun. Same thing here, P8 SC Epoch submachine gun. So if you get both, you're getting the same paint and the same rifle. So just be advised there. You really are buying both if you like both sets of gear. So, or you can just pick one and you're not losing out on a paint or a rifle. So make that informed decision. Okay, my opinions. Look, the armor looks sick. It's very highly detailed. It's very etched. I like the dimensions. It's very textured, right? I like the blue and the gold and like the dark grays. Like it looks amazing. Both look amazing. But this freaking Dust Devil, and I bought both, so just bear with me here. The Dust Devil patch bundle, that does not look like StarCitizen. Now, we had members of Soul Provision last night with a great point. Like, you can only do so much with space-themed flight suits. So at some point, you're going to run out of ideas, and it's okay to get outside of, the normal or the expected space outfit. But this looks like a paladin from World of Warcraft, right? Like, tell me that doesn't look like a paladin from World of Warcraft. The cape, like, I don't know. Like, there are other capes, but it's been very Dune. Like the Dune scarves. I've seen that in Pyro. I've seen it come from Pyro, which all that makes sense. You're in a dusty environment. But this cape, like this outfit looks very like Halloween cosplay. Do I think it's sick? Do I think it looks amazing? Yes, absolutely. But is it StarCitizen? I don't know. They really went out on a ledge here. Why do you need shoulder pads in 2955? Right? Shoulder pads weren't even really there to protect your shoulders. Shoulder pads were there to create a glance, like it would glance off. So if someone was going for your neck, it would glance down, right? Down the shoulder pad. So here we are in 2955. Who's fighting with swords? Now, are they going to release katanas? Yeah, we already seen that in the Wicklow store. But I'm not going to be hacking away at my opponents with a sword in 2955. This is the freaking Drake of uniforms. Like, why? We're 930 years in the future and we have shoulder pads. All right. Anyway, so there's 4-4. I could go on for many more minutes about that stupid outfit. All right, guys. With every patch drop, with every event, you're also going to get a Spectrum article. So here you go. This is the place. If you are new to StarCitizen, this is the place that you want to land. It's going to have everything you need in this game, from new player guide links to welcome links to YouTube trailers, everything. Even if you're coming back from years of a break, there's a welcome hub for new players and there's a welcome back pilot, like what you've missed up to this point. Guys, this, go to this page. All right, let's move on. Before we get into IAE, which will take us through the rest of this podcast, let's just talk the roadmap roundup real quick. This did come out and kind of surprised us with a 4.5. There were lots of debates on whether or not we would see a 4.5 or a 4.41, but this is telling us that 4.5 is in the pipeline. We're going to see engineering. which includes fire hazards, physical helmets, right? New barrel attachments, the Vulcan renderer improvements, the FPS AI improvements, and of course, as always, new hairstyles. So I think the news here is more that there's a 4.5 coming, that before the end of the year, we should have obviously Nyx and we should have engineering, which is huge in my opinion. Like, what a great ending of the year. And I feel like this year has been very full of content. There will be a podcast episode just looking back and reminiscing about this year. All right. Perhaps the time everybody's been waiting for. IAE drops. And this was a lot of fun. So let me just quickly go through last night. Again, I love talking about my org, but again, never self-promoting the org, but Soul Provision is there if you want to become part of a very welcoming family. But I'm the CEO for it. I created it, obviously, and we're growing. We're almost at 400 members and going strong. But we had 30 individuals. We had 30 people last night who went into IAE, many for the first time. And so we made it a point to kind of step back from the sweaty PvP and PvE missions and decided, hey, it's day one of IAE. Let's get our feet dirty, go into the convention hall and just experience it. Now, this is the very first time that IAE has ever been in Orison. Orison has hosted ILW, Invictus Launch Week, which is arguably its sister event that happens in the first half of the year. But we've never had IAE in Orison. So this was fun. This was fun for me. It was different, but I loved the layout of this event, right? When you first arrive on the platform, and it's almost like you would expect, like going to one of these in real life. You would have the parking lot. So I kind of see it as like the shuttle. Getting off the shuttle is like the parking lot. You're going to see some trash cans. You're going to see some storage access terminals, lots of places to sit, lots of signage. You also have a Perseus that is parked right above you when you come off the shuttle. So it's this really neat, like, grand entrance. The exposure is it's very cool. It's very, very, very cool. So you walk in further, and of course it has all the staples. Like, the next layer in is where you can buy the shirts and the caps. It's where the information booth is. The signage is great. The airport signage is great. And you've got your wall of elevators, which we had a contest last night of how many people you could fit into an elevator and it not bug out. And we didn't have anybody bug out. I'm not saying elevators are fixed. I'm saying those elevators were not dangerous. How's that? And then, of course, you'd get into the actual convention center, and that's the copy and paste. I don't mean that negatively, but that's what you would expect to see from any other IAE, right? So you walk up the steps and you see the massive display. Like Invictus Launch Week, the display is static. So what you see on day one is what you're going to see at the end of the event. It's the same setup. They're not going to change out the ships. This is both kind of really cool because that means you don't have to go back every single day, but it's also bad because they already had the leaked ships out. All the ships, the L-22 Alpha Wolf, that's on display already. The Drake Clipper, the Drake Golem Ox. There's a few others, I think, off the top of my head. Oh, the Gray Cat MDC, which is going to be a phenomenal ground asset. Those are already on display. So it's funny, I'm not going to show you them. I have pictures, but I'm not going to show you them because it's not the damn day. But you can go to the convention hall and you can see all of those ships. Go be surprised if you want to. Wait for their days to come out to be surprised then. You do you. But I just don't want this podcast to be what shows you those ships first. All right. So really fun night. We did that for like an hour, which I'm surprised it took us an hour to go through the convention. But then we got 30 Perseuses because you can rent them. We have 30 Perseuses, went to Daymar and went from like Prashad to the garden. So we kind of low flied a bunch of Perseuses. That was really cool. Some pretty cool screenshot opportunities. But here's the event. Again, like we've already gone through a lot of what IAE is. Go listen to the last episode. That'll get you prepared or that'll inform you on what to expect during IAE. But here is your play for free link. Again, please use a referral code, even if it's not mine. just use a referral code, because that gets you more. And it also gets you this Star Kitten outfit. So I don't know if you don't mind the Star Kitten vibe. New recruits will get the uniform, so this outfit, whereas veteran players will get the Star Kitten, the Drake Dragonfly. So you can either click here, play for free, or join a referral code, and you can get this this set, right? Okay, here's the map on how to get to Orison. Again, no surprise there. Here's the podcast that you can listen to. Again, episode 1 is out. Episode 2 comes out tomorrow on Saturday. Here's your Twitch drops for next. All right, you got starter packs. So with yesterday's IAE drop, it was RSI day, so they already dropped the RSI Salvation. We're going to watch the behind the ships here in a second, but the Salvation is a salvaging ship from RSI. It looks cool, feels cool. It's really awesome. But if you're going to get it from here. Now, I bought the Salvation because I wanted the concierge paint. Excuse me. Now, you can buy the concierge paint separately and whatever, but I wanted LTI and I wanted the concierge paint. Didn't really care about the other stuff. But if you're going to get the Salvation, you might as well go ahead and get it here because it includes bonus items. So you're going to get the Salvation, obviously. You're going to get lifetime insurance because it's a brand new ship, right? But you're going to as well, you're going to also get the Salvation Vespid paint. You're going to get the Tulsi jacket ebony. You're going to get the Pathfinder shirt, the K7 pants Imperial, the Lightalk boots, olive, 40,000 UAC, and the self-land hanger. So you're going to get all the things you would get by buying it the other method. You're just getting like a shirt, jacket, and some clothing as well. So just be advised. If you're going to do that, do that. The other starter pack that they have here is the Hauler IAE starter pack, and it's the Intrepid. Now, I kind of have a problem with calling the Intrepid a hauler. The Intrepid carries 6 SCU. That's not a hauler. That's like for delivery missions, like the box delivery missions. But if you're talking hauling, like the Intrepid's not what I would go with. I think you would start, now this is where we can start the debate and have some fun with this, but I would probably start with the Nomad. The Nomad's like a pickup truck where you can put plenty of boxes, like 30, 40 boxes in the back of the Intrepid. But then you've got the Hull A, which is 64 SCUs. Like those are haulers, and those are quote unquote starter ships. So I would have much rather seen like the Nomad starter pack for a hauler. My 2 cents. If not even like the Hull A. The Hull A would have been a good, hauler starter pack. All right, you got the Epoch patch bundles. We already talked about this, guys. Buy both if you don't mind having 2 paints and 2 of the same rifles. And then you've got merchandise, which I think we're getting into next. Nope, not yet. So let's just, because I brought it up. The merch, $29.55 merch store. Here we go. There's actual physical things for you to get. So here's a Vandal jacket, which I would have probably like been more interested in had it not had this red stripe right down the center. Like that's very, I don't know, it's off-putting. But it does, it's a nice little hoodie jacket for $102. You have an RSI shirt, tour shirt, and you have an Anvil tour shirt, Drake tour shirt, which whatever, I don't know why you'd buy that. And then you got the Levski desk mat. This is actually really pretty cool. So if you like desk mats, I actually don't have a desk mat because I've got one of those the Secret Lab Magnus Pros, which kind of has the built-in desk mat, if you will. But I would get this actually. Otherwise, that's a very beautiful, beautiful desk mat. And you can get physical posters, which might look kind of cool behind me if I wanted to hang something up behind me. You got the Wicklow Emporium t-shirt. Like, I don't know. I am so mad at Wicklow. I don't think I'd ever spend money on Wicklow. Then you've got some more gear as well. So there is the merchandise, but let's go back to the Showtime contest. So this is something else with IAE. The Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2955 has landed, and this year we're challenging you to capture your favorite ships and vehicles in action. Right, so a contest. How to participate. Okay, please read the contest rules carefully to avoid disqualification. You're going to prepare, capture, and submit. You can submit through the community hub, right? Keep in mind, there's a bunch of rules, things to consider. I'm not going to go through all the details, guys. If you want to participate, here is the Spectrum post to do so. But let's talk rewards. So submit by Wednesday, December 3. And first place will get an Anvil Paladin with LTI. That's pretty badass. So the Anvil Paladin LTI with the Carmine livery. Second place will be the Asperia Stinger with LTI with the Black Widow livery. Third place, RSI Apollo Triage LTI, Delphi livery. And then fourth place, there's 5 winners, guys. Fourth place is the Gray's Shiv LTI with Blue Blossom livery. And then in fifth place, the RSI Salvation LTI and the Vespid livery. So pretty damn cool. Go ahead and compete. Have fun with it. So we already talked merchandise. Here is the referral rewards information. So again, new recruits are going to get the Star Kitten uniform or the outfit. It looks like flight suit and helmet. And then the veteran player will get this Drake Dragonfly. Cool. There is a Q&A down here for just more details, but this is not hard. This is not difficult. So just click on a referral code, use the referral code, get the gear. Moving on. We're going quickly. All right. Here is the manufacturer schedule, guys. I told you I'm not going to read this line by line. You already know the schedule. The only thing that they had in here was the Perseus. Like that was the only quote unquote surprise, but we already knew it was coming. Here's your RSI Salvation. So let's just go down to Drake and see if they have the Clipper. So Origin, we already know nothing's new there. Yeah, so like the Golem Ox is not here and the Clipper is not here. So I think what they're doing is they're editing this. So once their day happens, like RSI happened yesterday, they're adding like the Salvation, because I'm pretty sure the Salvation was not there the other day. So Perseus was added, Salvation was added, Origin is not seeing anything new. Nope, nothing new in Origin. Drake, we already checked, made sure nothing new was there. I think the only other one off the top of my head, here's your Gray's Market Shiv. The only other one I can think of is like the Kruger L22 Alpha. Yeah, so here's the Wolf L21 Wolf. But again, on display at the convention center, you'll see the L21 Wolf and they put right next to it the L22 Alpha Wolf, which the only difference is size 4 laser repeaters. It's the only difference. So I'm curious how much more expensive that's going to be. All right, moving on. Here we go. So this is, I think this is just the RSI page. Yeah, so here's the RSI page. It gets into the Perseus, gets into the Salvation. We're about to get into both videos here quickly. The CCU for yesterday was the Meteor, with the 10-year insurance. You upgrade now, boom. Meteor is actually, I actually really like the ship. It's just, there's so many better ships out there for what it does, which is kind of sad because I love design. I really love the ship. All right, Perseus. Let's watch this video. This is the behind the scenes or behind the ship. We're already about 55 minutes into the podcast. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm not going to go through the Q&A. Just know the Perseus page, landing page is here. It has its Q&A. Same thing with the Salvation. It has its landing page as well as its Q&A. But let's just go straight into the behind the ship. So here's the Perseus's behind the ship for everybody's viewing pleasure.
RSI Perseus is a big ship for big fights, but you're not quite ready for capitals yet.
It's a heavy gunship that focuses on heavy turret firepower.
I want you to think Hammerhead. So this is like the Hammerhead killer. I've made jokes before in the past that it kills the Polaris, but like the Polaris is a capital ship. It's a torpedo ship. This is like, again, think more of a gunboat like the Hammerhead. So I think this is a Hammerhead killer. And I do really think it's a Hammerhead killer. It's a phenomenal ship, but kind of have that as a foundation.
A gunship is a ship that's capable of engaging and targeting other ships at the same time, which provides a way for players to take control of an area and engage multiple threats simultaneously rather than having to dogfight and focus on one at a time.
So a heavy gunship is when the ship gets a little bit more bulky, gets a lot more defensive, and is designed to tackle a bit bigger force.
Some of the larger threats it's ideal for targeting would be things like constellations and that sort of size ships.
The RSI Perseus is like a classic RSI design. It's a really large, long, very menacing looking ship. We've got this pointy nose. You've got the bridge just behind the center line, so it echoes that classic warship aesthetic.
Entirely, it really feels like a solid ship, able to go into battle and well protected. It's heavy duty. It looks badass.
The thrusters on the rear, again, we built on what RSI is known for, with these kind of large thrusters that are out on the sails at either side.
Back when we introduced the Perseus as a concept, its role in the game was to be a sort of mirror of the Aegis Hammerhead, where the Hammerhead was designed as a heavy gunship for screening smaller fighter craft, whereas the Perseus was for engaging larger threats.
So when the Perseus was originally announced, it had size 7 weapons. As times went on and other larger ships have entered the game, we felt it didn't fit the role well enough anymore to be size 7s. That's why it's been upgraded to size 8 weapons.
These are manned and capable of full 360 traversal, and then there's a slew of point defense turrets throughout the ship as well to provide protection against incoming missiles and torpedoes.
And they're fully interchangeable, like all the other PDTs in-game, such as the missile one that came out with the Idris K, along with the ballistic Gatling variant that's coming with the MDC in a few days.
There are also smaller size 3 remote turrets that can be controlled from the bridge.
That was a juggling act because that was not in the concept, so we had to incorporate all of those weapons together, but not break the silhouette of the concept in a destructive way. So I think we maintained the silhouette generally, but also added the necessary functionality to match the expected turret experience that came from Squadron. There was a lot of moving parts, pun intended, with that, where the whole turret had to literally extend when you sit in it, for the fact that the seat and the turret pivots needed to be lined up on the y-axis. So that's why they transform once you sit in them. The player won't notice, but that was to actually make it so the pivots line up, so when you tilt your seat is tilting at the same angle as the turret that's next to you.
We tried 3 Perseus against the Polaris, and they did extremely well, because the Polaris's major punch is the torpedo, whereas the Perseus's major punch are the guns. And the guns have no range limit. So you just go right down the throat of the Polaris and you're pummeling it, and we destroyed it quite quickly. You can't really be stopped. But the Perseus does
Don't say it. Don't say you can't really be stopped. Because you say that and then they're going to nerf it 5 days later.
Okay, you can be stopped by good tactics and smartitude.
This is what I have to work with, people.
So there are multiple different ways to enter the Perseus. All of them will connect you into the cargo hold, but all come with different pros and cons. So you have the docking collar, which allows you to connect to stations. You have the personnel lift, which allows you to enter the ship without depressurizing the cargo hold. And then you have the main lift that you can put people or vehicles on to get up to the actual ship. All of them bring you into the large cargo hold area that let you quickly navigate to the other parts of the ship.
Compared to the original concept, we've made some minor interior changes just to improve the flow throughout the ship.
Sometimes what we find is when we're tackling the ships with a large interior space, we want to make sure that the interior has all the functionality that we want, and sometimes that does have some layout changes.
The cargo bay, since the concept has been increased to 96 SCU, and the layout of it is pretty favourable in terms of putting vehicles in. You can put things up to, say, rover-sized vehicles in there, and this does allow you to run cargo missions, although that is not the ideal role of this ship.
In this space,
that was the MDC, by the way,
convey the strength of the ship. So one of the things that we evolved slightly from the original concept was these large structural beams. They tie the walls, the floors, the ceilings all together, and they give a little bit of a skeleton to the ship. It really conveys that no matter where it takes a hit, it's going to survive.
I love the nautical theme to it, and we tried to create that aesthetic inside the ship where we labeled everything similar to an actual military ship. When I toured the Midway down in San Diego, and when I was visiting the StarCitizen, I met a lot of former Navy guys, and they said, yeah, we have, labels and arrows pointing every which way, so when you're in a big ship, you never get lost. I'm the one who put in the basketball hoop.
This freaking basketball hoop. Okay, so story time. Never got into the Perseus before it came out. So I never saw any pictures or videos on it. And so when I first saw this, I was like, I called it out. I was like, that's fake. We have something similar in the Origin 890 jump. So like we have like a recreational area in the hangars of the 890 jump. When I saw this, it was in my Discord, it was in Soul Provision. I was like, oh man, someone just did a really good Photoshop job. Like this is not like an 890 jump makes sense because it's a luxury. Like think of a cruise. It's like a cruise ship, right? This is a gunboat. I can't imagine you'd be out in a combat situation or going to or from combat and having a basketball court. So I saw this and I was like, nah, no way. No way. Someone was just really good. And it didn't help that right after this, someone had a picture of this area full of water. And they're like, hey, mine came with a pool. And so I thought like, okay, basketball court, a pool, like this is just ridiculous. Like this is not a thing. So I called it out, not a thing. But then I had members of Soul Provision like, hey, this is actually in the ship. And I'm like, man, you guys are pulling my leg. But there was enough of them saying it. And I was like, shit, I need to go back into the Perseus because this was after it launched in the live PU. I went back into my Perseus and this was late, right before I went to bed. I went back into the Perseus. I went around. I actually found this stupid button on the second floor. I found the button, clicked it, and sure as hell, like it is a basketball court. Very interesting. I like the lighting, like the way it shines on the floor to be a basketball court and how the goal like comes out of the platform. It's very good design. It just kind of surprised me again that a combat vessel would have something like this. But I told the community I would tell a story about it, so here we are. Did not expect it coming out of a combat ship.
Why?
Yeah, because the concept artist had this, this harebrained scheme, and hopefully the fans will make use of it. I mean, I was able to shoot hoops successfully in there.
If you turn left in the cargo area, right in front of you, you've got the torpedo loading areas. So on the lower deck, that is where you access actually loading the torpedoes in.
We changed the concept entirely. Instead of an enclosed device, it's an open bay where it's this V shape and you can load all 20 and visibly see every single torpedo. The reasoning is versus the Polaris, where that system, you sort of load the torpedoes, but then it tucks under and then you can't see them anymore. That interfered with the ability to unload and reload them. So that was the critical change versus the Polaris.
And then on the upper deck, that's where you have the fire control. That full section there is really...
That animation is so cool.
I think it's very
so cool.
Atmospheric in there. It feels like you're really in the heart of this big war machine. Slightly further ahead of that, you've then got the turret access, and that gives you access to one of the manned turrets. If you're in the cargo area, you turn towards the rear of the ship. On the lower deck, we've got the engineering area. That's where you've got all your core important ship items that allow the ship to function. On the middle floor of the rear of the ship is where our habitation area is. It's got a shared bunk area, typical of what you would expect on a military ship. And then off of this area, we've got a small bathroom, and then we've also got some storage for your weapons and also your armors. So at the top of the ship, we've got the captain's quarters, right in the heart of operations, so they can go straight out of the captain's quarters and straight into the bridge.
And a new entrance exit airlock behind the bridge, protected by 3 doors for security for quicker EVA access.
What do you expect to happen on this thing?
What do I expect to happen on this thing?
That you have increased security on the bridge.
They added a door behind the bridge because they got bored of getting out of the ship and taking forever. But then I pointed out you just put a weak spot right behind the bridge. So they put 3 doors. So you have to breach 3 doors to get through. So it's not easy to get in, but easy to get out.
And then at the front, obviously, we've got the main flight deck.
The bridge has 3 seats, 1 gunner, 1 co-pilot, and the pilot one. It has a really nice view when you get on the pilot seat, and it slides up and forward, and you can see this giant turret in front of the ship. That's really cool.
It's very reminiscent to old battleships. You've got views all around the front half of the ship, so it's a really nice place to be. I think the ship's great. I think the North American team did a fantastic job of looking at what we delivered with the Polaris and taking on board some of the feedback. I know there was a lot of feedback around navigation and signage, and set a really nice standard of we've listened and this is kind of the new and improved.
I think it's going to be a combat-defining ship. We're going to see a big change in the way that people fight each other. It's a ship designed to actually put pressure on some of the larger ships if you crew them. I'm super excited to see how the Perseus and Hammerhead work together next year in the upcoming tactical strike groups. The ship's almost designed to work in tandem with each other.
Across the board, very happy with it.
It's been quite a long-awaited concept to in-game, and I think we've massively improved upon what was originally promised, and just the styling of it is just cool.
Beautiful. Yeah, so we got into the Perseuses yesterday, did like a little, not a race, but we went again at Daymar, explored the area and had just a great time. But it is a phenomenal ship, a little wonky to navigate inside of it at first, because you have to go to the back of the ship, go up, and then go to the front of the ship. Like just the way it's, I don't know, the way getting into the bridge is a little complicated, but once you do it once or twice, you get a full feel of the ship. It doesn't feel as large as the Hammerhead, like going from one quarter around to the other quarter, but the Aegis style is a lot different, obviously, than the RSI style. So I like the Perseus, a phenomenal ship. They're going to have many paints available for this. There's already 4 or 5 paints ready for it to purchase as well. So let's just go directly into the salvation behind the ships. I'm getting really close to time of waking up my kids, so let's get into this.
Starter ships are important because they are the entryway into a career that you may not necessarily have thought you want to play. So having them be this low-cost entry point allows you to try more game loops and gameplay styles. Starter ships are also important to have a sense of progression through the ship lineup. You need that entry point and then progressions into more advanced and expansive ships throughout that universe. We're proud to introduce the entry-level salvage ship, the RSI Salvation.
The RSI Salvation is a new salvage starter from the manufacturer RSI. It's the first ship off the production line for that profession in the game.
The Salvation is for those players who want to get into the salvage career, or those who are sort of being curious about it but wanted an easy way into that loop. This allows you to access the new RMC and salvage changes very easily.
RSI Salvation is a beautiful compact solo ship.
Definitely a good way of getting your foot in the door if you want to do a bit of salvaging. But you don't want a big boy like the Reclaimer because it's way too big and you need lots of people. Or you want a bit more reliability than the Vulture because it's Drake. Drake's not reliable. I love Drake, but it's not.
It's a very small purpose-built ship. We wanted it to look strong, but quite stubby. It was a balance between making it feel industrial, feel functional, and strong. So when you first look at it, the first thing you're going to notice is these structural elements that are like an external roll cage that wrap around either side of the ship, and they're kind of cocooning all the functional bits. On either side, we've got these fins that open up, so when you go into salvage mode, there's like somewhere for it to like release its energy, release its heat that it's not needing.
And you've got a big tank that processes all the material to then squish it into the crates.
It's a single-seater, you get in through the front of it, you deploy your salvage arms and they just pop out either side of you. You get great visibility of both what you're trying to salvage, but also the mechanisms that are doing the salvaging for you.
Salvage generally starts with the scraping of the hull, and the Salvation comes with a pair of bespoke salvage scrapers.
And then there's little grills on those arms which do the fracturing, and inside of those arms you've got the bit that does the fracturing and the disintegrating.
We wanted the player to know kind of what modes they're in. So when you're in scraping mode or fracturing mode, we've got these beams and glows down either side just to let you know what's going on. And then round the rear of the ship, it's all dedicated to the salvage space.
Once you've scraped the hull, you can then fracture the hull, and the salvage has a built-in auto loader which provides the crates of the goods and then exports them onto the exterior of the ship.
It's a 6 SCU grid at the rear, and that just holds your individual containers of salvage material.
It comes with 2 weapons to protect you in your missions. It also has a weapon rack and utility rack, so you will be ready for any threats in your job.
The paints are very pretty. RSI is a lot more refined in its style. It wants you to feel more luxurious with doing mundane, different tasks. So they took an industrial role and they went, hey, let's make it look cool.
It's very built for function.
You simply just get in it, go do the salvage mission. There's no onboard amenities like a bed. You do the salvage and then you come back. Very happy with how the Salvation turned out. It's a lot of ship in a small package.
It treads that line between being, it feels strong, it feels tough, it's still quite cute. At least in my opinion, it's quite cute. I think it's like a nice little ship.
I really like this ship because I pay lots of time to create lots of detail on it. So yeah, I really like this ship. This is my best job. For now.
He just looks like a little disc that wants to hug you with his little arms.
All right, my thoughts here. Okay, so the Vulture is your salvager, guys, but I mean the very beginning of that video is the point. Like if you have $55, I think that's the price point. If you have like $50 to $60 and you want to get into, or even in game, and you want to buy a very quick entry into salvaging, you don't necessarily want to go out and buy either out of game or in game the Vulture. This is a perfectly fine entry. I kind of relate this to the Golem, the Drake Golem. It's just a very, very basic, right? And I know I keep saying that, but if you have the additional funds, the Vulture is where you want to go. Like it has a bed, you can bed log. Like bed logging out in space in a Vulture is just like that's the dream. Like it's so good. It's so good. And it's a lot more than just 6 SCU of salvaging material that you can put in the back of the Vulture. And the Vulture also has crafting. Now you can only craft a Grey Cat multi-tool at this current moment. I think you might be able to craft more actually, but for sure you can craft a multi-tool at least. But there's just a lot more ship, a lot more gameplay with the Vulture. But again, this is your starter and it is what it is. You're getting your money's worth. But it is like you're going to get from Seraphim Station, you're going to jump in this ship, you're going to go do your salvaging, but you got to return back because you can't bed log and you have 6 SCU of salvaging that are just going to be sitting in that ship. So, I don't know. I went ahead and got one. Like I might end up giving it away as a gift at some point. So stay tuned for that. But I'm a huge fan of RSI. Again, like Origin is a luxury line, but they have like Pathfinders, they have fighters, they have other things that they do besides the 400i and the 800 or the 890 jump and the 600i. I would kind of like to see like Origin level of sexiness. Like, give me an industrial ship from Origin. That would be kind of cool. But this is definitely a different aesthetic. All right, quickly, and we're going to wrap up the podcast. I got to get through the Spotify polls in the comments, so we're going to do that real quick. I asked last week, which IAE 2955 feature are you most excited for? 41.7% said new ships. 33.3% said a free fly event. 16.7% said explore and tours. Or expo. Oh, good Lord. That's expo lore and tours. And then 8.3% were excited about the Twitch drops. Let's get into the comments section. We only have a few to get through. Anna says, hey, I sent you some photos. No need to show all, but please show the Corsair. I ended up messaging Anna. I need to take a hard stance at not showing like content creator things here. Because if I show it for one, I have to show it for all. And I just want to be mindful of what I should and should not do on the podcast. So Anna, thank you again for engaging. Thank you for being part of the show. But yeah, I don't think that that's the right direction for the comment section or emails. Jason Funk says, another great episode. I'm super pumped for this year's IAE. I have some friends interested in the game who will be checking it for the first time. Awesome. Fingers crossed for a successful free fly so they don't get scared off immediately. Let me know, Jason. Let me know how it's going for you. I would love to hear if your friends buy in or not. Dreamer of Days. It's been a while. Dreamer of Days writes, I thought the F8 was also supposed to be a reward for completing Squadron 42. I didn't sweat finding a ticket since I plan on buying Squadron 42 when it becomes available again. Guess I miss out on that paint. Thanks, marketing joking. With engineering on the horizon between Nyx and Pyro, do you think CIG will work on fleshing out the environmental hazards like toxins, radiation, and flares next? Or will we see Castra before that? As always, great show. Thanks for keeping me immersed while I'm out of game. You bet, buddy. That's a hard one because we saw the solar flares in Pyro already. They just didn't make it to the live PU. So I feel like those things would be very easy to turn on, but I think they're waiting for like other game loops, like repair. There's like there's elements of repair that need to be in if you have radiation sickness or the flares that are causing damage to your peripherals on your ship. They have to have engineering in place. So I think there are game loops that are preventing the environmental hazards. So I think the environmental hazards will come in before Castra. But it's a good question because Castra is also being worked on right now. And if they're doing if they do to Castra what they did with Nyx and not release a full system, we could potentially see Castra, next year. Not to get like that hopium started. So I don't know. It's a really good question. All right. F8 being a reward for completing Squadron. I can't keep it I can't keep it straight. It's either the F7 series or it's one of the F8 series. One of the two. But I think it's the F8 Alpha. I think it's the F8 Alpha that you get from Squadron 42. This is the F8C, the F8 Charlie. So I think these are all like, it's something like that. I can't keep that story straight, but you do get a ship from completing Squadron 42. Billy the Beast writes, I recommend the Cutlass Black every chance I get to new players. 100%. I started with a cutter, and when I upgraded, it made the whole game different. Kind of like when you unlock flying in World of Warcraft for the first time, opens up so much more of the game. I cannot agree with you more, 100%. And then Gerdell writes, thanks for doing all the reading for us. It's so much easier listening to you on my drive to work than trying to read all the CIG updates. Can't wait to see the massive swarm of Soul Provision, Perseus racing, and Nyx. See you there. I appreciate that. It's a lot of, I am so tired after reading all of the monthly show notes. So I appreciate you saying that. Makes me feel really good about myself. All right, guys. Man, this was a long episode. I had to get into post-production and I got to go wake up my kids. So I'm out of here. I hope this finds everybody well. Again, guys, happy Thanksgiving. For those who celebrate, we will not be here next Friday. We will come back the Friday after. I hope you enjoy your holiday. Safe travels. This is not my outro just yet, but safe travels when you are going to and from your Thanksgiving events. If you want to know more about the Beyond the Verse podcast or the Soul Provision in-game organization, you can do so at beyondtheversehq.com or soulprovision.com. We do have our philanthropy still going strong. We're at around $1,600. So again, thank you for your generous donations to Extra Life. Those are, it goes in support of children's hospitals. So if you want to continue to give, you can do so at beyondtheversehq.com/give. Be on the lookout for our giveaway that's going to start tomorrow. So tomorrow giveaway. It's beyondtheversehq.com/giveaway, or just stay close to our socials. If you want to become part of the conversation, you can email us at contact@beyondtheversehq.com, and then make sure you respond to our Spotify polls and comment section. All right, now, safe travels as you traverse Beyond the Verse. Take care, everybody.